The silent watchers, the bridge of the Zephyrian dreadnought's stellar dominance hummed with controlled energy as Admiral Vextar studied the blue marble floating in the void ahead. Earth looked so peaceful from this distance, its white clouds swirling lazily over brown and green continents. The veteran commander's four arms moved with practiced precision across his command console, his crystalline eyes reflecting the soft glow of tactical displays. Status report. Captain Mordon, Vextar commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 17 worlds for the Zephyrian Empire. Captain Mordon's sleek form moved between monitoring stations, his silver-scaled skin catching the bridge's ambient light. Long-range sensors confirm initial intelligence, Admiral. No orbital defense platforms, no energy shields protecting the planet. Their most advanced vessels appear to be primitive chemical propulsion craft, barely capable of reaching their moon. Vextar's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. And their population? Approximately 8 billion carbon-based life forms. They call themselves humans. Technologically speaking, they're at least 3 centuries behind our most basic systems. Mordon paused, consulting his datapad. Admiral, our projections suggest complete planetary subjugation within 6 rotations. The Admiral leaned back in his command throne, satisfied. The 7th Conquest Fleet had been assigned this system as what High Command called a training exercise for newer officers. Earth was supposed to be so primitive that it would serve as practice for real military campaigns. 200 vessels of various classifications hung in formation behind the stellar dominance, their hulls bristling with weapons capable of turning entire continents to glass. Yet something nagged at Vextar's military instincts. In 40 years of conquest, he had learned to trust those instincts. Captain, what do you make of these electromagnetic readings? He gestured toward a secondary display showing waves of energy emanating from Earth's surface. Mordon studied the data, his expression growing puzzled. Curious patterns, Admiral. The emissions don't match any known communication or defense frequencies. Almost like they're broadcasting random noise. Random noise that follows mathematical sequences, Vextar noted grimly. Nothing in nature is truly random, Captain. Send the advanced scouts closer. I want detailed scans of their major population centers. 3 sleek reconnaissance vessels broke formation, their cloaking fields shimmering as they approached Earth's atmosphere. These ships, each the size of a human city block, were marvels of Zephyrian engineering capable of scanning molecular structures from orbit and remaining completely invisible to primitive sensors. Deep beneath the Colorado Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chun watched the approaching ships on displays that shouldn't have existed according to any publicly known human technology. The Phoenix Project's command center stretched for miles underground, its walls lined with quantum processors and dimensional fold generators that made the most advanced human supercomputers look like pocket calculators. Contacts confirmed, she announced to the assembled team. 3 scouts, approximately 47,000 kilometers out and closing. Energy signatures match theoretical Zephyrian configurations. Commander James Mitchell, a weathered military veteran with more classified operations than most people had birthdays, studied the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Right on schedule. How long have we been tracking their main fleet? 18 days since they entered the outer system, Sarah replied, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. The Quantum Early Warning Network has been monitoring their approach vector since they passed Neptune's orbit. A third figure emerged from the shadows of the command center, tall, gaunt, with eyes that seemed to hold depths of knowledge that no human should possess. Those who worked with him knew him only as Operative Zero, and rumors suggested he had been preparing for this day longer than anyone cared to calculate. The electromagnetic patterns are working as intended, Zero said, in a voice that carried no emotion, They're interpreting our quantum mesh network as primitive radio noise. Their scouts will attempt to establish monitoring positions within 12 minutes. Sarah's console chimed softly. Actually, make that 8 minutes. They're accelerating their approach. On the surface, the world continued its daily routine. People drove to work, children attended school, and the internet buzzed with the usual mix of news, entertainment, and social media chatter. None of them knew that humanity's greatest test was beginning several 100 miles above their heads. Aboard the lead scout ship, Tactical Officer Zalmit peered at his scanning displays with growing confusion. Commander Yithra, these readings make no sense. The planet's electromagnetic field is ... wrong. Commander Yithra, a young officer eager to prove herself in her first major campaign, moved to examine the data. Elaborate, officer. The magnetic field fluctuations are too regular, too precise. Natural planetary magnetospheres show chaotic variations, but Earth's field is pulsing in mathematical progressions. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences, and patterns that Zalmit's voice trailed off as his instruments detected something that made his blood turn cold. Commander, we're being scanned. Impossible. Their most advanced sensors couldn't penetrate our cloaking fields, even if they knew we were here. But Zalmit's readings told a different story. Deep, penetrating scans were probing their ships. Hull, analyzing their quantum signatures, and somehow mapping their internal systems with precision that rivaled their own technology. Commander, I recommend immediate withdrawal to the main fleet. Commander Yithra's pride overruled her caution. We're here to gather intelligence, officer. Continue the mission. Those were the last words spoken aboard the scout ship before it simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, erased. One moment it occupied a specific coordinate in space-time. The next moment, that coordinate contained nothing but vacuum. No debris, no energy discharge, no gravitational anomaly. The ship and its crew of 47 simply stepped out of reality. As if they had never been there at all, Admiral Vextar felt the absence before his sensors registered it. After decades of command, he had developed an intuitive awareness of his fleet's composition. The sudden loss of contact with Scout 1 sent alarm bells ringing through his consciousness. Captain, status on the advanced scouts. Mordun's confusion was evident in his voice. Admiral, Scout 1 is ... missing. No distress signal, no weapon discharge detected. It's simply gone from all tracking systems. Define gone, Captain. Admiral, according to our sensors, Scout 1 never existed. Our logs show we deployed 3 scouts, but our quantum signature tracking can only locate 2 vessels. It's as if reality has been edited. Vextar's 4 hands gripped his command throne with enough force to leave permanent impressions in the metal. In 4 decades of conquest, he had never encountered anything like this. Planets had superior technology, certainly. Some had weapons that could destroy scout ships, but none had ever made a vessel cease to exist so completely that the universe itself seemed to forget it had ever been there. Recall the remaining scouts immediately, he commanded, and signaled the fleet. Battle stations. But even as his orders went out, Vextar knew with the certainty of a seasoned warrior that they had made a terrible mistake. Earth wasn't primitive. Earth wasn't defenseless. Earth had been waiting in the Phoenix Project Command Center, Sarah. Chun monitored the withdrawal of the remaining Zephyrian scouts with professional detachment. The quantum displacement field had worked exactly as designed, folding the target vessel out of local space-time and depositing it in a null dimension where it would remain indefinitely. First field test successful, she reported. Target vessel displaced with 0 collateral effects on local space-time geometry. Commander Mitchell nodded grimly. How long before their main fleet realizes what they're dealing with? Operative Zero moved to stand before the massive display, showing the Zephyrian fleet in all its terrible glory. 200 ships, each capable of sterilizing a continent, hung in space like a constellation of death. "They know something is wrong," he said quietly, "but they don't yet understand what they're facing. Admiral Vextar is a veteran commander. He won't retreat without investigating further. That gives us perhaps 30 minutes before they commit to either full assault or strategic withdrawal." Sarah's hands moved across her controls, bringing additional systems online. Throughout the hidden complex, machinery that existed at the intersection of human engineering and principles that most scientists insisted were impossible began to hum with power. "Quantum displacement network is at full operational capacity," she announced. "All 247 installations worldwide are synchronized and ready for mass deployment. The Phoenix Project has been humanity's greatest secret for 37 years, Zero continued, his voice carrying the weight of decades of preparation. "We've been waiting for this day since we first detected faster-than-light signatures in deep space. Every nation, every government, every military, and scientific institution working in perfect coordination for a single purpose." Mitchell checked his weapon systems one final time, to make sure that when someone came to take our world, they'd discover that Earth doesn't surrender quietly. "No," Zero corrected, his eyes reflecting the glow of displays showing human cities, human families, human dreams continuing their daily existence in blissful ignorance of the battle being fought for their survival. To make sure they discover that Earth has been preparing to defend not just itself, but the concept that freedom and self-determination are worth any sacrifice. Above them, Admiral Vextar was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been its technology or its weapons. It was the simple, terrifying fact that when faced with extinction, humans didn't just fight back, they evolved. The Erasure Protocol Admiral Vextar paced the bridge of the stellar dominance like a caged predator, his crystalline eyes analyzing every piece of incoming data. The loss of Scout 1 defied everything he understood about warfare, physics, and reality itself. His remaining scouts had returned with disturbing reports. Earth's electromagnetic signatures were becoming more complex by the hour, and deep space sensors were detecting energy buildups that shouldn't have been possible with primitive human technology. "Admiral," Captain Mordaunt reported, his voice tight with concern, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously, in perfect Zephyrian." Vextar's mandibles clicked in surprise. "Impossible. Our language has never been transmitted outside our home systems." "Display the message." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a human female with dark hair and intelligent eyes standing in what appeared to be a sophisticated command center. Behind her, displays showed technical readouts that made Vextar's veteran sensors officers exchange worried glances. "I am Dr. Sarah Chun of the Phoenix Project," the human began, her pronunciation of Zephyrian flawless. "Admiral Vextar of the 7th Conquest Fleet, you and your forces are trespassing in Sol System space. You have 30 minutes to withdraw beyond the heliopause, or we will consider your presence an act of war." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Captain Mordaunt was the first to find his voice. "Admiral, how did they know your name? Our fleet designation? And how did they learn our language?" Vextar studied the blank screen with growing unease. "Captain, run a full-spectrum analysis on that transmission. I want to know everything about the technology that produced it." The results, when they came back minutes later, sent a chill through the command crew. The transmission hadn't come from Earth's surface. It had originated from somewhere beneath the planet, from installations that deep penetration scans couldn't locate. More disturbing still, the signal had been broadcast using quantum entanglement communication, a technology the Zephyrian Empire had developed only within the last decade. "Admiral," the communications officer reported with barely concealed fear. "They're not using radio waves or subspace transmission. They're communicating through folded spacetime. The signal reached us instantaneously across the entire system." In the Phoenix Project Command Center, Sarah Chun monitored the Zephyrian fleet's growing agitation with professional satisfaction. 37 years of preparation were about to be tested against the most formidable military force humanity had ever encountered. "Quantum entanglement network is stable across all nodes," she reported to the assembled command staff. "We have real-time communication with every installation on 6 continents." Commander Mitchell studied the tactical displays showing the alien fleet's positions. "Any signs they're taking our warning seriously?" Operative Zero remained motionless in the shadows, his presence somehow both calming and unsettling. Admiral Vextar is a career military officer. He's conquered 17 worlds for his empire. He won't retreat from what he perceives as a primitive species, regardless of our technology demonstration. Then he's about to learn why humanity survived the Ice Ages, the Plague Years, and 2 world wars, Sarah said grimly. "Phoenix Protocol is authorized. Activate the quantum displacement network." Around the globe, installations hidden beneath major cities, mountain ranges, and ocean floors began to hum with power that drew from sources most physicists insisted couldn't exist. The electromagnetic patterns Earth had been broadcasting for days suddenly shifted, becoming a focused beam of coherent quantum energy that reached out across the solar system like an invisible web. Admiral Vextar felt the change immediately. Every sensor on his flagship began registering impossible readings. Space itself seemed to be fluctuating around Earth, as if reality was becoming unstable. "Captain, I want the entire fleet to maintain maximum distance from the planet. Something is..." He never finished the sentence. The first wave of the displacement field reached the 7th Conquest Fleet, and ships began disappearing. Not destroyed, displaced. One moment, the heavy cruiser Void Render occupied its position in the fleet formation. The next moment, it was gone, leaving behind only empty space and a brief gravitational ripple that the surviving ship's sensors barely detected. "Report." Vextar roared, his calm command demeanor finally cracking. "Admiral, we've lost contact with 14 vessels in the past 30 seconds, Mordaunt replied, his voice shaking. "No weapon signatures detected, no energy discharges. They're simply ceasing to exist." On the tactical display, red dots representing Zephyrian ships began winking out with horrifying regularity. The humans weren't fighting the fleet, they were editing it out of existence. Sarah Chun watched the displacement field work with cold efficiency. Each vessel that vanished was folded out of normal space-time and deposited in a null dimension, a place that existed between the cracks of reality, where time moved differently and the laws of physics answered to different constants. "Displacement rate is holding steady at 3 vessels per minute," she announced. "At current efficiency, the entire fleet will be neutralized within 90 minutes. "Any resistance from their remaining ships?" Commander Mitchell asked. "They're trying to retreat," Sarah replied, monitoring the quantum sensors. "But once the displacement field locks onto a target's quantum signature, distance becomes irrelevant. They could flee to the edge of the galaxy and still be pulled back here." Operative Zero stepped forward, his eyes reflecting displays that showed the gradual dissolution of the invasion fleet. "This is what humanity has become, James. Not conquerors, not warriors in the traditional sense. We've become guardians of a principle that sapient beings have the right to determine their own destiny." Aboard the Stellar Dominance, panic was beginning to set in among the crew. Admiral Vextar watched his fleet disappear with the systematic precision of a harvesting machine, and for the first time in his military career, he felt genuinely helpless. "Options, Captain?" he asked quietly, Morden consulted his tactical displays, his face grim. We could attempt to overload our quantum cores and take the planet with us, but I don't think our weapons would reach the surface. Whatever field there, projecting seems to be affecting the fundamental forces that allow our technology to function. And retreat? 17 ships have attempted warp-jump protocols. None have succeeded. It's as if the concept of leaving the system has been ... prohibited. Vextar closed his eyes, feeling the weight of absolute defeat settling on his shoulders. Captain, open a channel to Earth. The transmission that reached the Phoenix Project carried no military arrogance, no threats of retaliation. Admiral Vextar appeared on screen looking older than his years, his 4 arms spread in what humans would recognize as a gesture of surrender. Dr. Chun, he began, his voice heavy with exhaustion. I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. I formally request terms for the surrender of my remaining forces. Sarah glanced at Operative Zero, who nodded slightly. Admiral, she replied, you're not our prisoners. You're our students. The Phoenix Project exists to defend humanity, but its ultimate purpose is to teach the galaxy that some species refuse to be conquered, and that other species can learn to respect that choice. The displacement field around the remaining 73 ships shimmered and faded. Suddenly, they could move freely again. Their weapon systems came back online, and their communication arrays detected no interference. You're releasing us? Admiral Vextar asked, clearly struggling to understand. We're sending you home with a message, Operative Zero said, his voice carrying across space with crystal clarity. Humanity is not interested in conquest or empire. We don't want to rule the galaxy. But we will defend our right to exist as free beings, and we will extend that protection to any species that asks for it. How? Vextar whispered. How did a species that barely reached its own moon develop technology that makes our greatest? Weapons look like children's toys? Sarah smiled, and for the first time in the conversation, her expression was purely human, proud, defiant, and infinitely hopeful. Admiral, when humanity first looked up at the stars, we didn't see conquest opportunities. We saw neighbors we hadn't met yet. When we detected faster-than-light signatures 37 years ago, we didn't build weapons. We built a defense. Network powered by the one thing that makes humans unique in the galaxy. Which is? We refuse to accept that any problem is unsolvable. We spent 37 years asking a single question. What if the laws of physics aren't laws at all, but suggestions? What if reality is more flexible than anyone imagined? And what if a species that learned to survive by adapting could adapt the universe itself? The quantum displacement field pulsed once more, not as a threat, but as a demonstration. For just a moment, Admiral Vextar could see Earth as the Phoenix Project saw it, not as a single world, but as the center of a network that stretched across dimensions, a seed of consciousness that had learned to rewrite the rules of existence itself. Go home, Admiral, Zero said quietly. Tell your empire and every other civilization that receives your report that Earth is not available for conquest. But also tell them that if they come in peace, if they come seeking knowledge or friendship, or simply to understand what it means to be truly free, they will find no greater allies in the galaxy. As the 7th Conquest Fleet began its long journey back to Zephyrian space, Admiral Vextar sat in his command chair, contemplating the impossible. Humanity had proven that evolution wasn't just about becoming stronger or faster or more intelligent. Sometimes evolution meant becoming more than what the universe thought was possible. And sometimes it meant teaching the universe to become more than it thought it could be.